Dating gets tough in pandemic. Dating apps add vaccine badges. Will this give confidence to date again? Post-vaccine dating lives, our top focus on India today. Hello and welcome to today's broadcast on dating in vaccine times. I'm Chaiti Narula, and in the course of the next half an hour, I'm joined by two leading dating apps, Tinder and our homegrown Truly Madly, a relationship coach and author, Shazeen Shivdasani, and a single entrepreneur, Arpit Sharma. But first, what is really new in the world of dating? Vaccine badges. I never thought I'd say this, but such is life these days. Take a look. Dating in times of pandemic has changed. Video calls replacing intimate dinners, social distancing, masks, and so many other protocols that do not help dating at all. But c'est la vie in the pandemic world.
I do feel that if apps, now that apps are putting these vaccination stickers, online dating apps, people are going to feel more comfortable with meeting in person. People will need some time catching up and feeling comfortable. But the evolution has started.
The latest in the dating world is vaccine badges. Online daters, for instance, in the UK, will be able to display a badge on their profiles to show if they are vaccinated or not as the world unlocks. The vaccine badges on dating apps were first introduced in the United States. Will India follow suit?
We created a question on our profile which people can highlight on their profile, which asked for what are your vaccine plans. Around 40% of users said ki yes, they are planning to get. 32% said they have already got at least one, but 28% said that they do not have any plan to get it.
And even if India does, what are the concerns for the single men and women out there who have not been able to physically date?
Pandemic fears and losses have really made people take a backseat to meet other people. They do not want to take any risk that can make them feel the same way again. The conversations with someone new have become dull as they are not going beyond coronavirus. The COVID baggage is real and not many people are realizing it.
A recent report suggests Tinder will be offering a selection of COVID vaccine status badges on profiles to show if one has been vaccinated or not, and if one is vaxing soon. While dating apps will be giving the option to put our vaccinated badges to profiles, the fact of the matter is one can still be a carrier of the virus post the vaccination, and hence in times like these, when will dating resume to normalcy? Or will the world have to embrace the new normal for a while and embrace the silver lining on the dark cloud of forming better emotional bonds through virtual dating? However one chooses to look at it, boundaries have to be established, quite literally now. In New Delhi, Chaiti Narula for India Today. I'm being joined on this broadcast by Shazeen Shivdasani. She's a relationship coach, an author. Taru Kapoor, the GM of India Tinder and Match Group, Arpit Sharma. He's a single entrepreneur, and Snehal Khanor, the founder of Truly Madly dating app. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm so happy you guys could take your time out this afternoon and join us. Taru, let's begin with you. Vaccine badges, they're the new thing. How are apps ensuring dating happens seamlessly in the vaccination era? And how safe are people feeling with these vaccination badges?
I think as the vaccination drive picks momentum globally as well as in India, vaccination has been on top of everyone's mind for several months, right? People are talking about it. We see that conversations about vaccines are growing at 40% month on month on Tinder in India alone. And we definitely feel that it's something that's in people's mind as lockdowns ease and people start sort of increasing IRL meetups back into the virtual dating and sort of meeting all these people that they've been chatting and video calling with again. I think vaccination status, and their views on vaccines, etc., have become an important criteria that people are looking at. And we are definitely looking at not just sort of encouraging people to sort of get the badge, but also we are looking at a fair amount of effort on how can we in India talk about advocacy on the app, how can we empower our members with education. So a lot of that coming soon up from us as well.
Oh, that's very interesting that Tinder is making those steps in India, and that's probably going to be helping a lot of singles out there. Let me now turn focus to Shazeen. She's the relationship coach. Shaz, what's the dating scene like these days? What are the tips and tricks to date in a pandemic in these uncertain times? I mean, how many Zoom calls can one even have? And has the pandemic forced us to confront the reality that our time is precious and fleeting, and compelled singles to consider how they truly want to spend their time with and with whom?
So I think dating has definitely moved into dating online. You're absolutely right, Chetty. Like, how much can one do a Zoom call? But I feel, you need to, firstly, you need to establish your own personal rules of how you want to go about this. And because a lot of singles have been feeling a bit down about dating, but I think if you have like a plan as to how you're going to address this, whether it is chat with someone first on your dating app of choice, and then kind of move into phone calls. And then, there's no reason why your Zoom calls can't be as creative as actually meeting in person. But I think if you first form that emotional intimacy, then you can kind of get into the COVID conversation of what works for you when you actually end up meeting. Because it's very personal and it's very different for everybody, right? So whether there's a vaccination badge or not, someone might still feel like if I was to meet someone, I would say, hey, let's not meet anyone for 7 days and then let's meet. Because even if someone has, taken both vaccines, there's no assurity that you won't get COVID. So I think if you address it in a more like systematic way of how you want to date and have your system ready, it's not as difficult as singles are looking at it.
Right. Snehal, what steps has Truly Madly taken now? Is there a way to even verify that my potential date is actually vaccinated? Maybe he says he is vaccinated, but how do we ensure that that verification really is done? You at Truly Madly, I believe, are working on the verification part also, and that's in the pipeline. If you could just bring our viewers up to speed with that.
See, so verification and due diligence has always been a backbone of Truly Madly philosophy, right? So what we are doing is we are in process of getting the APIs from the CoWIN. Good thing is that Indian government has created a CoWIN APIs, right? The verification API is not a public API, but we have to apply and get it. And once we have them, the user can just scan their QR code on the certificate that they get, and we will get the verified details that this person, that Snehal Khanor is verified, vaccinated once or twice.
That's very interesting.
So that is what we are doing instead of just going ahead with a honorary system, which we have right now. And what we also figured was that more than the vaccination status, people were also inclined towards the plan that are you planning to get a vaccination? Because that tells a lot about the other person, right? If you are saying, no, I don't want to get a vaccination, right? Then it tells a lot about you, right? But if you say, yes, I am trying and, I am looking for slots, then at least I am sure that a person is cautious and I can safely meet them.
That's very interesting because, aligning on the fundamentals is so important, and for you to add that option and for a single person to know whether the single person is aligning with their potential date on just the vaccination am I a vaccine pro person or a hesitant person, and who I am meeting is on the same page as me or not. So that's a very interesting point you brought up, Snehal. Arpit, you're a single guy, you're an entrepreneur. Are you liking that you are being able to emotionally connect better in times like this? Because the hanky-panky is off the table now, and we as humans crave connections, especially when our mental health also comes into play. Is it taking a toll mentally that you cannot go out there and take a girl out for dinner?
I think something very interesting is happening is that now that you can't really meet people and you don't really trust people if they're vaccinated, or even if they're vaccinated, are they exposing themselves or their home? So you really have to communicate and connect with them, and you really have to take a deep dive in connection. So it's not just that you have little conversation and you meet for a couple of wines or a dinner or just a coffee. But now you have to really talk, and you have to really talk for a while to at least know that person well, that you can trust that person. And the other thing is that even when people are vaccinated, people in India live with their families, and it gets tough. It gets tough because they don't want to take a risk with their parents or maybe with their other family
Absolutely.
members, even with their friends. Some of them are living there. Very small minority of people are living alone. So I guess that is still something of a reservation of if you want to meet people in vaccination. But I guess the time will tell. This is not going to go away. We have to adapt, and that's what everyone is doing.
All right. And Shazeen, how should I have the COVID conversation before going on a date, in your opinion? And you speak for a lot of women out there as well, who must be very, as Arpit mentioned, you have parents at home. Many people do not want to compromise their elderly people who are at home too. So do I want to really go out on a date at the cost of compromising the people who are at home? And even if I'm vaccinated, I can be a carrier, like you said. What is the silver lining on the dark cloud? Are emotional connects developing better in these times than physical connects?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's been a complete evolution. Before the pandemic happening, a lot of people complained about what we call the hookup culture. And people looking for deeper connections found it really hard because it was this very go with the flow and then maybe we'll commit to each other. But I feel now, because the physical aspect is removed, just like Arpit said, people are forced to kind of form these deeper connections to get to know each other at the fear of even losing this and this fizzling out. And they're being very innovative about it. And it's strangely enough landing people in more relationships than it was in the past. And then it's because by the time someone does get physical with somebody, there's already this huge emotional connect, and then it ends up meaning a whole lot more.
Yeah. And how do I have the COVID conversation? So what are the questions that I should ask? Because I say I'm going out on a date with somebody, and these are very awkward questions to ask. Have you gotten the jab? Who all are there at home? How many people have you met in the past 1 week? I also want to assess, right? Who am I meeting and how safe is that person? But it's a very difficult conversation for a single woman or a single man to have at that stage. So what are your tips on having that COVID conversation?
So I think, Chaiti, we really need to normalize this conversation and not make it something awkward. I think when you get to the point that like, hey, let's meet, I think people should expect that this is going to come their way, right? And a couple of things to keep in mind would be maybe ask them how, as we are saying, have you been fully vaccinated? Who's in your social bubble? And maybe, like I said, maybe the two of you can pick an open air place and decide not to meet anyone 7 days prior to meeting each other. Because just like Arpit said, we have to try be as safe as possible, but we also have to adapt. This isn't going anywhere.
Right. Arpit, are you okay with a woman coming and asking you these questions? And these are questions that many people would have asked you, right? As a single man out there. Are you okay, Arpit, answering these kind of questions?
Of course, they are critical. In fact, I'll ask them myself, and probably I'll just stalk them and see their Instagram stories first. Where are they going and who they meet? What's going on?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Snehal, a reduction in case numbers now means that somewhat traditional dating is possible. Are you sensing that your users are still wary of the quick flings and really taking the time out to date with social distancing in place?
So see, I think there are two use cases anyway, right? So for example, at Truly Madly, we are not a hookup use case app, right? So our use case is to find your forever.
Of course.
So anyway, people, before they meet offline for the first time, there is some emotional bond built over the digital platforms. First date we are seeing, even it started during first wave, but even when the first wave subsided, first date continue to happen over video or over Zoom, right? Then I think because see, we are not a use case where you meet tonight, right? We are not a one night stand or hookup use case. So
no, I'm not suggesting that even for a second. But yeah, it's an app, like any other app out there. You have multiple options once you're on that app. You either seek for a romantic relationship, or you seek for the one, or you seek for a casual fling. So, it's not about specifically about your app, but in general.
So what I'm saying is that people, because now, people know that it is risky out there, right? So once the comfort level is built over the digital, then they decide ki, hey, now let's meet and let's take these precautions, because as Arpit said, right, major parents, and most of us in India, we live with our parents, right? So they do talk, okay, for next 7 days we will live in a bubble, right? For the prior to meeting, we will live in a bubble, and I think that is actually forming some very beautiful relationships, because you're going through a struggle together.
That's
right?
interesting.
And
That's very interesting. Taru, rules are now
Yeah.
dictating the culture of hookups and dating and relationships. Will the vaccine badge status world over and even in India make singles feel safer than before? What are you picking up and what are you sensing from your users on Tinder?
I think the most interesting thing that we have seen over the last year, like year and a few months since the pandemic first started, is that people have become very, very, especially our younger users. We see this with Gen Z a lot, but even I would say all young daters have become very good at navigating this world between the virtual world and the real world, and also just forming connections, even, not just with new people, but also rekindling connections with their friends, figuring out how to sort of navigate life, right? And we've become a lot better. We've become a lot better about expressing our boundaries, expressing our desires and preferences, and we've become a lot better about figuring out how do we express ourselves or figure something out and make a connection online. In fact, over 60% of our users say that they love forming connections online because they feel less judged. And also, in a strange way, they have been, the world has been freed from these archaic rules of dating and, what are the rules of going on someone, when do you ask someone, what's the right etiquette, who makes the first move, all of those rules and definitions and labels have been out of the whack, right? So like people are free to make their own rules, their own comfort levels,
That's
respect their boundaries.
Sure. Arpit, do you miss the physical dating world, the physical intimacy of it all? Do you feel safe knowing that the apps have the vaccine stickers now? Because like you said earlier, you can also be a carrier despite being vaccinated. So once you go out for a couple of dates, maybe you want to share a kiss, for example, right? Singles want to do that. How comfortable do you feel even doing that in the pandemic world?
Well, I am not comfortable as of now because I recovered from COVID last month, and I'm still in that fear that I don't want to be with somebody who has it or who can pass it on to me or my family or something. So at this moment, no. But maybe later, after a few months, when I'm back in the comfort zone, maybe yes.
So Shaz, I want to ask you, what is your advice to all the single men and women out there who are somewhere feeling trapped with this pandemic? Somewhere there is a sense of hopelessness that comes in, as well as to when the pandemic is going to get over. When will I find the one? Because to be able to find the one, I have to go out on a dinner or a walk and get to know that person better. When will all of that resume? So what is your tip to all the single men and women out there?
I would say, like we said earlier, this is the time to adapt. I think initially when we hit the first wave, we all thought by now it would be over. And now we understand that there are going to be good months, bad months. No one has any idea when this is officially going to end. So find a way to adapt, find a way to put yourself out there. Don't let this get you down. There's no reason why you can't get to know new people on an emotional level, and just accept the situation and don't let it hold you back. And also, if you're feeling like super lonely, reach out to your support system. I think that's a very important thing to say right now. You have your friends, you have your family. As much as, we are talking about dating, dating is not the only aspect of your life. And yeah, that's what I'd say.
So Arpit, what is your date these days looking like? When you are on a date, is it usually a Zoom call? How's the dating life looking like for you?
It's a video call. That's all about it. But that's good because you got to interact more and you got to stay on that video call for a while. So it's not just little chit chat and then you're done with it and you can physically meet that person and then it grows. It's like there, and you only thing you can do is chat through the phone or your laptop. So I think when the options are less, you try harder, you connect more. And maybe you can feel more connection with that person.
Right. Snehal, As far as your app is concerned, are there any features that you're adding now to make singles feel safer on the app?
So other than the vaccine badge, so we have a lot of in-chat games which people can interact and get to know about each other better, right? But nothing specifically to make them safe. Just because we know that people may not be able to meet and get to know about each other, what we are thinking on, how do we ensure that you get to know about the other person on the app much more than normal times, right? So for example, we have this compatibility assessment tool via which you get to know about each other, things that you may get to know after 3 to 4 months of dating. For example, one such question in that is is it important for you that the other person shares the mobile and Facebook password with you?
Yeah.
Right? So these are the kind of things you get to know about each other after 3 to 4 months of dating, but we try and tell you on day 0 now, right? So it's about how do you get to know the other person better without meeting them that often.
And Shaz, I'm going to let you have the last word, Shazeen. I know it is very scary out there. Many people are not willing to go out despite the vaccination badges too, and some are feeling confident after being vaccinated. Leave our viewers with your thoughts into how one can really, more than dating, develop really meaningful relationships and use this time as a silver lining on the dark cloud and see the glass half full rather than half empty.
Like I said, Chetty, I think, everyone should just put themselves out there. Don't be disheartened by the fact that we can't date the way we normally date. And like everything Arpit said, this is a time to form deeper connections. So actually, all the people that are looking for relationships, this is your time, because everybody is looking, there aren't that many options. People are putting themselves out there, really trying to keep those Zoom calls going and keep those phone calls going because they want to form these deeper connections. So this is a good time if you are looking for a relationship to kind of develop that.
So that's a very interesting takeaway I get. That is one, that all these vaccine badges will make you feel safer. Tinder has started putting these very interesting and very important vaccine badges. And like Truly Madly founder Snehal also mentioned, he's finding a way to verify whether the person is actually vaccinated or not and know the preferences. As Arpit mentioned, it is a time to get to know each other better. And as Shaz rightly put it, more than dating, this is a time to form those real relationships out there. With that, I thank you so very much, all of you, for joining us on this special broadcast. This is Dating in the Pandemic Life and what it looks like. This is Chaiti Narula signing off.